Hi there, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Deborah Peters, and this is the Deborah Peters Show. This show is all about serving humanity. I like to break it into 5 different areas of your life: health, wealth, relationships, business, and self expression. And I threw in that business area because I really firmly believe that the small to mid sized company in this world is what makes every economy flow. It's not the big guns, it's the yous and the me's and the mid-sized companies that are employing people and making the economy turn. So what is the consciousness around that? And I really like to address this notion of consciousness, because unless we raise our consciousness above and beyond what we've known to be the truth, what we've accepted as reality, what we have submitted ourselves to mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and fiscally, is not real, and it's not the truth, and it's certainly not the only way to create a life of freedom and sovereignty. And I feel like this idea of trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, like constantly dumbing ourselves down and rolling over and accepting whatever groupthink is happening in the moment, is surely to be the death of our spirit, because that definitely is not what we are designed for in any capacity. And we've been doing this series on being your own banker with Bernard Barchie for few months now. And I really want to dig in today. Bernard, thank you for coming back on my show for the 3rd or 4th time. I can't remember. It's been good, though. We've really uncovered a lot of stuff, and I appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So, I want to the nature of my personality is I just address things full on. And not everyone can handle that, but that's okay. I'm not for everyone. But I can promise you, the ones I'm for really love me. So what I really want to have us break down and deconstruct a little bit before we get into the solution side of things is the program that we understand or accept to be the norm of banking, of money, of what it takes to create our own sovereignty. Because the way I look at it, the system is not designed for anyone to win. So if you do win at your freedom, at your wealth, it's because on some level you were able to raise your mindset, your vibration, your energy field above the fray of victimhood and struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that program?
I relate to it as, as I probably say it more than I should, and I call it the Matrix.
Yeah.
And if anybody's seen the movie, they understand what it is, because it's
I
not.
think it's a documentary.
Yeah, and it's not a computer generated world, but it is what they teach us and what they instill into us. So it is so much as what you would relate to the Matrix being about. Educate, the wealth is not created as we're brought up to understand how it is. Now, the idea isn't to be having tons of money, but the idea is not to work your butt off for the rest of your life and constantly keep losing money while other people are moving into the wealth gap, which is humongous. But it's not that they're better than we are. It's just they know how not to lose money. And go ahead. And I'm sorry.
I was just going to say,
stuff.
They know how to think different at some kind of primordial level. And then that continues to build in their curiosity of how to create, generate, and keep their money that is beyond the norm that we're taught.
Yeah, no, 110%, because when you look at it, I work really hard for my money.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything with it because you don't know what to do. You just do what you think you know what to do. You know, you make more money, you spend more money, you take more trips, you buy more stuff. Well, like you were talking about, the wealth gap, they protect everything. Their
Sure.
family is set. I mean, there's a book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? So it's just a really good book because all generational wealth was built with these guys. And it's the family's just raised into that. They don't teach them that. It's just part of their nature.
Yes.
But when you're in the matrix, you're not taught any of this stuff. Now, I have an accounting degree, and it has nothing to do with finances. And just some of the techniques that I was talking to you about before on the other two shows, it is so simple. And you're not talking, you don't need calculus, you don't need trigonometry, you don't need all those big math or anything like that. It is so simple, but they're all techniques and they're all strategies.
Right.
You're not born into them, you got to learn into them. Now, they do say that 80% of the millionaires are first generation.
Today, in today's world, yes, it's young money.
And they're no better than what we are. However, they think totally different than we do. And that's the key. And they won't teach you this in the matrix because you were mentioning the government needs the matrix. I mean, that's where all the small businesses are. That's where all the tax money comes from.
Yes.
But if you do want to move into another area and you want to make smaller amount of taxes and get your interest rates and benefit from all those things, doesn't matter what's going on in the economy right now. There's strategies that you can build that safety net in there, and that's very important.
So let's talk about the economy for a minute because it's a big deal. It's on everyone's minds. I mean, I can't log on to YouTube and not see a million videos pop up, and I don't even watch them. They just it's beyond an algorithm that's being customized to Deborah Peters clickbait. It's something else going on. So I purposefully avoid those, not to bury my head in the sand or be ostrich syndrome, but to not program myself because it's consumption. Everything is consumption, whether you're consuming food, beverages, relationships, drama, the negativity of politics, the economy, the economic. I would never spend any time going to an economist luncheon listening to their doom and gloom for the next year. It's like, listen, we all have enough odds in life stacked against us just to become greater than we are, much less have someone tell us a year from now we're going to be suffering even more. So, but at the same time, I have clients that are in the mortgage industry that are closing their doors and laying off hundreds and thousands of people. Loan Depot closed their wholesale division like 45 days ago, and Sprout closed theirs in July. So what's going on? We've got an economic, let's call it a shift. So we have an economic shift, but that doesn't have to be the end of your wealth.
Not even close. And when you were talking about that, I was just thinking about, I have an area of one of my slides that I do on my Facebook, and I've been leaving it on there for some time. Some people wait, other people prepare. So the ultra wealth and that gap that I keep talking about, they're not concerned with what the economy is doing. The news is the news. It's happened before. It's constantly keeps turning like that. But they're in a position right now that they're not concerned. They're prepared for anything. They use the strategies that are so simple that I've talked about a couple times. And there's probably more, but these are so simple for all of us that it won't matter what's going on. And like you said, I don't plug myself into the news. I just know the way it's going. And we're trying to help so many people not get run over. And I call it the financial tsunami coming into shore. They have to prepare themselves now to ride the wave. It's not a big deal. Myself, we're positioned correctly to be able to handle whatever is going on. And if I can do this, all they're trying to do is teach other people how to do the exact same thing. You could ride that wave out and be successful at the same time.
Remember 2008? I went through 2008. just like I took some hits because my entire niche market was the mortgage industry.
Sure.
And, I was on retainer with multiple wholesale lenders, working with their leadership teams and their boards. And I mean, I just was like, it just was falling apart at the seams, right? So, what was interesting for me to observe in that on a global level, because I started doing a lot of work in Europe, various parts of Europe, and a little bit in the Middle East, was that the wealthy, what we would call the ultra high net worth individuals, remained ultra high net worth individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and they had so much leverage because they had the cash flow to buy stuff up when it was like pennies on the dollar. And that, I think, that's the thing that people want to know. How do I inoculate myself against that kind of blow up and actually be able to leverage that experience to my benefit?
Forget everything you were ever taught and relearn. And that's all it is.
Well, that's the program I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, and that's where, we refer to that. That's all it is. They know how to prepare. They're set. They have all the things. You don't have to be as ultra wealthy as they are. We just need to utilize some of the tech. What's that?
You could be.
You could be, but you don't have to be. But you just need to have the techniques in place.
Yeah.
That can position you where you're not going to be running from things. You're not going to be run over by that steamroller. You're going to be able to withstand these things. So some people prepare, and that's what we have to do.
And other people react, right? So
or don't react until it's too late is also a problem.
Yeah, that's a whole other reaction right there. I have a comment from Thomas. Hey, Thomas. He says, "I will never retire. I will become." And, that's powerful because I don't believe in retirement. I think that's a program. And actually, I think retirement is where uninspired people go to die because they're programmed and conditioned all their lives that what you're supposed to do is during these pivotal, energetic years of your life, you're supposed to work like crazy, save like mad, so that when you're old and can't move as quick, you have the money to put your feet up. That's the worst program of all. All those years that you could have been experiencing the juices of life, and you're not, because you believe in some fatalistic concept that once you hit this certain age, you're not supposed to desire anything anymore. You're not supposed to be enthusiastic anymore. You're just supposed to move out of the way for society and go somewhere and put your feet up and die.
Yeah, well, and you use that exactly because I always tell people if you're a plant and a plant retires,
you're in trouble.
It's dead. It's constantly got to grow and it's constantly got to evolve. If it decides it wants to stop, it's not making it. No. And we are not supposed to retire. We're supposed to live. Yeah. And we should be living every single day. I do work with a lot of clients and they're in that retirement age.
Societal retirement age.
Absolutely. And they're not set up, and which is sad. And it's but you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And if they would have started a strategy years ago, they wouldn't be in a position right now.
Okay, so let's look at that, because the last thing I want to do is shame people for not having known this earlier in their life. Wherever you are now is where you have to start from, because you can't roll back the clock. Mm-hmm. So this is where you are. You don't have, let's say you're mid 40s, 50s, 60s, who cares? This is just where you are. You don't have the capacity for having wealth. Maybe you've bought into a career that isn't, show me one career that's about obtaining massive wealth, and I'll jump on board immediately, because none of them are designed that way. Every career is designed to just keep your head above water, to come to work every day, to give your best and just keep your head above water and not ask for anything more, because it's the machine that needs to make the money, not you. You're just a cog in the wheel. Where you start to set yourself free from that is with entrepreneurship and creating something that comes from within you. So let's say all of that aside for just a second, whatever you've chosen, wherever you're at, you have to start from where you are. So what can they do now to start to access becoming their own bank, building a legacy, getting all of their mortgage and utilities and everything they've shelled out over the years brought back to them? What's
Absolutely.
the step?
And I say stop losing money. And paying bills is a way to lose money. So there are the strategies out there of, like you said, becoming your own bank. You also got to be careful. The longer you wait in this process, that strategy doesn't work. It's just because it's so much later now and it's a lot harder. So anybody that's under the 70 years of age can utilize a banking strategy like crazy. Now, the whole idea too is the retirement symbol. The whole thing is you shouldn't have debt when you're coming into there because you're not going to have as much income. And the whole idea is you have the least amount of debt that you could have, and then you'll be able to live off of that smaller amount of income. Well, that's just, once again, that's the mindset of being trapped into the matrix.
Yes.
But
you have to dumb down your lifestyle.
Yeah, but what we're trying to teach people to do is we could utilize the banking system to eliminate our debt. But while you're eliminating your debt, and everybody, if you could think like this, you got money in a savings account or in a bank. Money goes in, money goes out, money goes in, money goes out. But what if you can put money in and never comes out? But you can still leverage it. And you can still, every time you put it in there, it just gets bigger and bigger, and the compound growth is outrageous after a certain amount of time. But you can still pay your debt. But you're going to leverage OPM to knock your debt down faster while you build your wealth quicker. It's just a whole different mindset, and it takes a little bit of forget what you've been taught. The banks are not the system. What I'm talking about is.
So is it after a certain amount of time, or is there another benchmark? Could it be measured after a certain amount of, what you've dumped into it in terms of money?
There's all kind of different strategies.
Okay.
And it just depends on each client. Absolutely. Because you being younger now, all the young ones that are listening to this show, on the payment on this, because you start now, you won't have to worry later. I guarantee you. The ones that are not in that position, we have to design it a little differently based on to our scenarios that we're in at that point. Because mine, I had to be a little more aggressive with mine. I'm a little bit up in the ages, in the years. So I just had to sit there and I call it the beast. I just had to feed the beast a lot more to be able to leverage a lot quicker. So you can do the slower thing, but at an older age, you really don't have that slower. You got to move faster.
So what are you saying that? So you're going to be your own bank. You're going to set up your policies. Are you saying that you, instead of making deposits into your bank account or having, however you, depending on, if you work for a corporation, they're doing direct deposit, whatever. Instead of it going to the bank, it's going into your policy?
Yeah, you have to transfer it over though.
You have to transfer it.
It goes from the bank to your policy. You just set up what it's going to go over. Now, what you were saying is exactly what you're 110% right. It's a deposit. When you deposit into the bank, you make them rich. Mm-hmm. When you deposit into your insurance policy, it's not a premium. When insurance companies call it a premium, you got to look at it as a deposit. Because when you deposit into your policy, it never comes out. Every time you add to it, it just gets bigger. You can pay your mortgage with this thing. You can pay down your debt while you build your wealth with this. You can do free up debt and continue to pay. You can recapture every expense you've ever lost by utilizing a life insurance policy. But they won't teach people this in the matrix. It's a wealth building strategy. It's not buying life insurance. It's learning how to use life insurance
for how you run your money.
It's just a vehicle. It's a vehicle that you
Okay.
use, and I call it the money machine. Once you put it into there, you're just filtering your money differently. I'm never going to do what I did before. I'm done. I'm not losing money to that extent ever again. I'm paying my bills, but I'm using insurance companies' money to pay my bills while I add mine to I put my deposits in my bank and I get to leverage theirs. It's not a bad strategy.
So how's that work exactly? I hear you. I understand the words. How does that work exactly?
And you have all kind of different scenarios. Like I said, you can do monthly premiums. And when you put the monthly deposits into your bank, allows you to leverage insurance companies' money. These aren't designed for long term. You leave it in there and eventually it grows. There's strategies for that. This one here is designed specifically for banking. So once your money hits the account, you can then take a loan and put it back into your bank to pay the bills. So you're leveraging insurance companies' money to pay the bills, not yours. Yours goes into the deposit, into your bank, never to come out. And you just keep adding to it. And I'm not trying to get everybody to think, if people that are my age, go back and figure out how much money we've spent our whole entire lives.
Scary.
And if we knew this strategy, how much wealth would we have at this point right now by recapturing at least 50%? Your goal was to get 100% of your income into this because you're never going to lose it. And if the banks use this strategy, because I think we talked about that on the last show, if the banks use this strategy, why aren't we? Why are we sitting back and, thinking that life insurance is a whole different vehicle than wealth creation?
Sure. It's one and the same.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's just a whole different filter system. But that's why I was telling you got to forget what you were taught. You got to realize that it's so simple, but learn how to use the money machine. I know I did mention to you that there's 10 reasons why this money machine can fail.
Sure.
Not a single one of them have to do with the machine. Every single one has to do with the person or the operator is what I like to call it, the person operating the machine, because they didn't do it to its fullest capacity. Now, if I got a little bit of time, I'll give you a couple of those scenarios onto there. One of them, it says the mistakes that you can do to avoid these, the money machine faltering is you don't think long term. Okay. This is worth more as you use it every single day. And that's why I call it fattening the beast. The more you put into this, the stronger and the bigger it gets. So you want to feed this machine as much as possible. You're not educating yourself on how to use it. You just don't park money and leave it.
Right.
Park money and use it. This machine has to be used. I use this scenario. It's kind of like having a souped up sports car that you leave in the garage and you only take it out one Sunday a month. And you drive at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's not meant for that. Take it out and use this thing. You don't take loans. This thing's designed to be used loans. When you take a loan from a bank, and we went over that, you have to pay the bank back, but you don't have to pay these back. You want to, because it goes back to you, but you don't have to. So that's the idea. You can use this while you're building your wealth at the same time. They don't use the free tools that are involved. Now, the free tools are, how to eliminate your debt by using insurance, how to pay for college, how to utilize tax-free withdrawals. There's so many benefits by using the money machine. It's outrageous. They don't recycle and recapture. And what I refer to that is when you're paying off a debt, you eliminate that debt, but you don't stop making a payment on it. What you do is you add more money to your bank, which allows you to leverage more insurance companies' money, which allows you to pay down your next debt a lot faster. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean. You're going to recycle it and you're going to recapture it into your bank. And it's a whole mindset. You got to look at it as it is your bank.
Yeah.
They don't change the bad habits. Now, I'm talking about they keep using the banking system. They keep thinking that money works a certain way. Those are bad habits. We got to stop going back to those. We got to stop using third-party debt, credit cards and all those items like that. Start using your bank and create your own line of capital by using this strategy. You don't put enough in it. It's not designed. If you can put money in a bank, get 100% of your income into this. Government doesn't allow you. It's a tax shelter. However, Get as much that the government does allow you. And if you have to, open another branch. You can get 100% of your income into this. And when you do, my God, you just got more benefits because you ended up opening 3 branches at the same time. All of them have a whole life policy built into it, a term policy, living benefits, and everything you grow into that is all it's all tax-free withdrawals. They wait too long to start more policies now or open more banks.
Sure.
As you get older, you don't have much of a choice. You can get a few more, but you can't get 100% of your income. And when you're younger, you can get more of these as time goes on. What's the most you can get that the government allows you? Take advantage of them because you're protecting your money. That's all you're doing. You're using life insurance not to lose your money and allowed to leverage somebody else's. And you don't share the information. When you learn how to use it, start teaching people how to use it. Let's change so many lives that are stuck in the matrix and
Yes.
teach that we can now help so many people just through education. And they won't teach it in school yet. We'll figure out how to get it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if
you can't go wrong, can you? At any age, you can't go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's such a powerful strategy. And then if you open your own bank and your bank is making money, why would you cancel it? Why would you close your doors? That's probably the most one is people just, I'm just going to cancel it. Well, that doesn't make sense because even if you withdraw your money, don't ever withdraw. Once you put it in there, the idea is just keep adding to it. It just keeps growing. And you can keep leveraging and keep adding more. It's just all kind of different strategies. So it all depends on the client and who we talk to based on their needs and what they want to do with this machine.
Mm-hmm.
I could go off on all day on that.
No, this is really good. This is really good. It's starting to come together. I knew when we first met that we needed to do a series because we really needed to be able to break this down. There's just so much involved in this. You know, it's from the baseline of, you know, the programming around this and how we just, as parents, we just pass on what we're taught. We never question it. Isn't that like the biggest faux pas of all parenting is that we just accept what we've been taught and what it made us, what we allowed it to make us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just keep repeating that and reteaching that, even if it's abuse, you know, it's positive and negative. So here we are having this conversation about money and how to manage your money in such a way that it really works for you and you're not caught up in some program that is really designed for you to fail. And that's the banking system. It's certainly not going to be designed for the banking system to fail.
No, not at all. They take all the safety measures in place anyhow.
Right. So I think the other piece of this that's really important is that it's about the programming. You know, you're laying out something that makes so much sense to me. And it's never been explained like this to me ever in the past. So that's what's so refreshing about your approach, Bernard, is like you see it from so many different angles and you just break that down and deduce that down to the simplicity of like, this is a no-brainer. Like you really should be doing this.
I call it like a pop-up book.
It is. It's truly, yeah. You should really have one of those designed because this is perfect.
That's not a bad idea.
That's a really good idea, actually.
Absolutely,
And make it a kid's book. Make it a kid's pop-up book because that's when we need to teach them.
Yeah, but even the adults will learn from it. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I was never taught about money as a kid.
Neither was
Any conversation in my family that we had about money was taboo. You know, you got a slap if you asked how much money we had. And it was just this bad subject to, I don't know, everybody just winged out when you brought up the concept of money. But I want to just kind of digress for a second. So what is it when we have these predictable red flags, like the one we're experiencing with the economy. What is it that actually keeps people so stuck and afraid to pivot?
That's tough on the people. Once again, it has to do with them and thinking that money works a certain way, and that's the only reason why. It's we don't know. We think that if they hear something new like this, it's not really that deep that I'm talking about. It's just learning how to utilize a life insurance policy to build wealth. However, they have a whole different vision of what life insurance is. So you don't know what you don't know. You have to forget everything you've ever been taught, and you have to make that move and get out. You just got to be able to release it and saying, it didn't work before. Why am I still doing
Oh my
what we're
God,
doing?
thank you. This
It's called
definition of
insanity.
insanity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's doing the same thing over. I call it Groundhog Day too. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I use that a lot.
There you
So,
go.
but it's all it is, and then I'm not doing it anymore. And
I
this is why I
know.
always mention to people, if I can do this, so can anybody else. You just got to say to yourself, it's time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
learn very simple strategies too.
Well, yes, and you're shifting a paradigm that has been well ingrained in the psyche of humanity for generations. I don't even
Sure.
know how long. And, it's like really the whole purpose of my show is to shake up people's paradigms. And sometimes the conversations are kind of in people's faces, like today, like you're basically saying, the banking system is not designed for you to be wealthy. So if you would like to be wealthy, and that doesn't have to be an ultra high net worth individual, multimillionaire, billionaire wealth, but whatever wealth means to you, whatever that level of freedom is that you desire, if that's what you want to be, then you have to change your belief system about what is possible, number one. And then secondly, you have to be willing to go against, well, let me rephrase that. You have to be willing to walk a different road.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be lined up with the rest of the sheep, depositing your money into the bank every 2 weeks and taking out a little bit of cash to pay your bills and expecting your wealth to build. Like that is not designed for that. But we've been taught that this is the only way that exists. It's the same as health, it's there are very strict and solid ideas and ideology in the medical world that says this is the only way life works. This is the only way your body's going to work. You have to cut it out or drug it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no such thing as spontaneous healing or regeneration because that's woo-woo stuff. And I mean, even the language behind that is, alternative health. Alternative to what? A system that we've been programmed and indoctrinated to accept as being the only possibility, the only viable possibility for you if your health isn't good. So why should money be any different? This is the ultimate way to control humanity is through their money and their health. Because without one or the other, you're surely going to die. If it's poor health, you probably die faster than if it's poor wealth, because that's just a slow death of, sadness and starvation.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm painting a really dark picture here, but tell me if there's anything I'm saying that's not accurate.
No, absolutely. Because like you're saying, and it's just what we've been taught. Now, when you were talking about health, you put gasoline in your car when your car's hungry, but you give it a good source of gas is what you do. You can't just put anything you want to put into that car. You got to put what that makes that car run. But why do we do that with our bodies? Why do we put whatever we put into ourselves? Our bodies are only designed as an engine. We have the most intense engine out there.
Yeah.
And if we take care of this, and that's what I had to do to myself too. I changed from being a chef, making all kind of food, to just eating to sustain energy. Now, is it you're eating really good, healthy food. Is it overly greasy and tasty and you got all that salt and all that stuff? No. Sometimes it's not satisfying, but my energy's off the charts because that's all I'm using it for. And you just got to get rid of the mindset of it's not meant to dine and have all this stuff. It's just meant to sustain your body, to keep it healthy, to keep it moving and keep you into the next level. And
So
drink
the
lots of
metaphor
water.
is, so the
Lots of
metaphor is the bank is just a place to like
Yes.
move the transaction
Yeah.
through so it can go over to your life insurance.
And eliminate the banking system. Only use it for what you need it for.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to use it to pay your bills because you can't pay your bills with an insurance policy. But you can use the insurance policy to become a bank. And then you use the bank to pay the bills.
All right. So we have a credit system. Pretty much every country has a credit system. And so the credit system, and I'm not talking about this new nonsense social credit score stuff. I'm talking about the old school credit system of, you know, being able to pay down loans and manage credit and debt and stuff. So we still need the banking system to a certain degree to build that. Is that right?
Yeah. And you use it as a strategy. Remember, don't get suckered into what they're getting you into and max that limit out to the T and live off of it.
Yeah.
Now they give you the reward points as that little carrot to get you to do it and all that stuff. Take advantage of it, but learn how to do it. When you utilize and you pay off those debts using insurance companies' money, you build your wealth at the same time and using that to your advantage and building your reward points, but paying it down with insurance companies' money, not yours. That's why you eliminate the banking system by doing that.
So it's just full on leverage.
Absolutely. And it's finally to your advantage.
Yeah.
And that's the only vehicle that I've been able to find that you can do this with.
Instead of them leveraging you, you're leveraging your own money, your own resources.
And every single thing's a strategy. You just talked about one. I work with real estate investors on this strategy. They'll max out the credit cards to go buy and get the miles, but they'll use insurance companies' money to pay off those credit cards.
It's brilliant.
While they capture theirs. Every time you use insurance companies' money, yours is being deposited into your bank, allowing you to leverage theirs. And the compounding interest is very important. A savings account doesn't build compounding interest, even though it's structured that way. But we don't do it because it's money in, money out, money in. You keep interrupting the growth. With an insurance, you never interrupt it. That's why the banks use this strategy. Bank of America, if there's anybody out there, you got $24 billion locked into these. Tell everybody why you use it.
Amazing.
It's a strategy. And then they grew 5.25% this year.
Right.
While we get 0.01. Go figure, huh?
Say that again.
Bank of America grew in an insurance policy at $24 billion, 5.25%. Zero market risk. Doesn't matter what's going on in the economy. But they give us 0.01% in a savings account. Doesn't make sense.
Unbelievable.
And they just keep loading it up because as the value of the bank goes up, they're allowed to put 25% of their value into it. It's the number one asset on their balance sheet. So if they do it, why? That's what I question. Why?
Yeah.
I learned the reason why. So we're trying to teach people how to do the exact same thing. Once you understand this machine, you're going to have a field day of how to use it. Vacations, trips, cars, whatever you want to do.
You said something in a previous episode. I want to just, and then we got to say goodbye because we're already at 40 minutes. I'm sorry to do this, right? You talk about opening more banks, and basically those are more policies. And in a previous episode, the way you broke that down was these policies you open not in your personal name, but in a company name.
Yeah, you can do any strategies. You can max yourself out as a person, max yourself out through your business. You don't exist in your business. You can do it all over again. This is why there's multiple branches. The more you open, you only get more benefits. Everything gives you a benefit. And oh my God, you want to talk about leaving a legacy onto your family when you move into the next world?
Yeah.
If you have multiple branches, you got multiple death benefits, which is called wealth transfer in the ultra wealthy, because
Yeah.
your family knows how to use it and reinvest it and make more money by just starting just with you. Not talking to you directly, Deborah, but to anybody out there, just by starting with you, you can change the direction of your family at this point. I did just by
I can
making
see
that
that.
one move.
Yeah.
And then you educate them how to do it. And you've just changed the legacy from that point on, because everybody needs money. Doesn't matter what type of money it's going to be. We
That's
need
right.
finances to survive.
Well,
And
if you
when
want to
you
grow
have
an
money-
idea, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when you have money, you don't have to worry.
I
You
know.
worry when you don't have money. So if you have, you don't have to be ultra wealthy, but if you don't have to worry, this is a savings account that's an emergency fund anytime you need it. It's there. It's readily available.
So it's a mindset.
Yes.
It's a belief system. It's a paradigm. And it's a new approach, a new habitual approach to where you put your money.
And if you get yourself into that mindset out of the matrix mindset, you're set for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's like the road less traveled. Joseph
Absolutely.
Campbell. Wow. Wow. Okay. God, I hate to say goodbye.
And we got to talk alternative assets. So we still got to do that one, because that's a really good strategy too.
We got to have another, we have to have another episode. Will you come back?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. So in closing, top 3 tips, and then your URL and where you want people to find you.
Top 3 tips is, guys, you just got to start educating yourself onto this. First thing is just learn, because just understand that it's so simple. What you believe, money doesn't really work. Education, I have free PDF books. I got all that stuff I could send everybody. You know, the more you learn this, the better it is. It's not me just saying it. I use the strategies that we're doing, and you got to do it. You can't wait. You have to implement. There's a thing called in the now. So right now is the time to do things, not tomorrow, not yesterday. You got to do it now.
Gotta do
And
it
then
now.
just go do it, guys.
Just do it.
Just
You
do
know,
it.
isn't that just a great, like, all the way around life lesson? Like, why would you put off your freedom and your happiness and your joy and your sovereignty for later, when you could
Because
just,
you're so trapped into the matrix.
yeah, it's fear driven.
Mm-hmm.
It's fear driven. It's all about fear. I sent out an exercise this weekend to some of my top clients, asking them a question and to do some self reflection over the weekend in the 5 areas of their lives that this show is all about: health, wealth, business, relationships, and self-expression. How much does fear drive your decision-making process in each area of your life? And just kind of, take a look at that. And I think that that's probably a great exercise for the viewers today around this. It's like, how much does fear drive your decision-making about your money?
The lack of knowledge creates fear.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And if you
Always.
get more knowledge, you eliminate more fear.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. In the show notes, everybody will be a download from Bernard and all of his links to all of his social media and where you can find him and contact information. And so definitely reach out to him. I know you run classes. Do you run them on Facebook?
Yeah, they could reach me on Facebook. Yeah, it's just I do a lot more private classes. I do a lot through Zooms, because
Perfect.
I want the people to engage more with me. So
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here. What's your URL?
HTTP www.bbigfinancial.com.
BBigFinancial.com.
So it's BBIGfinancial.com.
I love it. All right. Thank you, Bernard. I will see you again real soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you,
All
Deborah.
right. Take care.
Thank you.